Mike, we've been talking about this all weekend amongst ourselves and talking about what it means. Listen, the team or one of the teams we've been trying to catch, and I'm talking about our Hawks guys, is Brooklyn. And Mike's been laying these, these standings out for the last couple of weeks. If we can get here. Mike, I don't think that Brooklyn, with losing Kyrie, remains a top 4 team. Now, are they a playoff team? Yes. With a healthy Kevin Durant? Of course. Right. But I don't know if they're a top 4 team. And so how do we get to catch them? How do we find a way to get there? And, guys, the only way I think we find a way to get there, because with the games left, and we've been saying this all season, I don't think it clicks where all of a sudden we run off 10 in a row. We've been inconsistent. That's the one thing we've been this year. We'll win a few, lose a few. Oh, we won 5 in a row. That's an aberration. We hadn't done that since. But, Mike, the only way I think we get there is we have to make a move on Thursday.
But here's the thing. Are we going to send the wrong message to the fan base by selling? Because that's the thing. Are we going to – you could argue, are we going to maybe pare some salary back and maybe Bogey goes? And if Bogey goes, I mean, look, we can debate the minutes, and I want to see more from A.J. Griffin to see him learn on the job. And he may have to if you move from Bogey. But if you're taking Bogey off, that's scoring. You got to replace that scoring. And, the Lakers are looking for help. The Mavericks are now looking for some three-point shooting because they sent, Dinwiddie and those guys. So they need some shooters, you could argue, to fill out what they're trying to do. I guess what Mark Cuban's trying to do. But I don't know. Because everyone asked us, we were out of the Beltline this weekend. I ran to a couple of Hawks fans, going to give a shout-out to a couple of dudes later in the guy talk. But they were like, what are we going to do? And I said, well, you look at all the trade rumors. There's nothing that really says, wow, that makes us the number, the what? Number 4? Number 5? Do you see anything out there you could pull off right now that elevates us without sacrificing something, without taking something off the roster we need?
No, see, here's the deal. You're always there's risk-reward with all these trades, all right? Let's look at the Mavs, right? You get Kyrie, you get him for the rest of the season. And now you have to sell him on this vision that not only are we willing to pay you if you want to stay, but this is going to be a championship-caliber franchise while you're here with Luka, right? But the risk is he could say, screw you guys at the end of the season, and I'm leaving anyway. So there's a risk-reward with all of these moves. I mean, for the Nets, they get Dorian Finney-Smith. I think he's a good player, man. I don't know if you guys watch enough NBA, but this guy can hoop. He's a good scorer. Spencer Dinwiddie. Those guys combined, that's a playoff team with Kevin Durant. I don't know if they're a championship team, but just like I thought the Mavs were a playoff team with those two guys with Luka. But, Mike, there's a risk-reward. If you're telling me we're going to go acquire another superstar, and I mean this with all due respect. Listen, Trey and is not enough. It's not enough. And if you're going to tell me, well, wait a minute, we got DeJounte. It's not enough. We need another dude. Mm-hmm. And if that requires getting rid of 2 or maybe 3 players that are currently on this roster, Mike, that's the risk reward we're going to have to take. Or we're going to find ourselves in this same situation.
Right. Now, here's the thing. If you added, just for argument's sake, like Zach LaVine, does that interest you?
I love it.
Yeah, but I love it. But they're not going to just give them to us.
No.
That's therein lies the crux.
Here's the thing, though. If these guys are not in your long-term plans, and this is what I do love about the Mavs move. Listen, I love it short-term. I don't know if I love it long-term because you just don't know what's going to happen. Short-term, and this is where we should be, Tony Wrestler, win now. Mark Cuban said, screw it.
Right.
I'm trying to win now. While my young superstar is in his prime, he's getting it done. I don't need to wait till he's old and all of a sudden now we're trying to put people around him. Win now. I'm willing to trade these guys away, and I'll take the risk. Atlanta, we have to be willing to take the risk. And I think, Mike, that means moving on from some of these guys that may not be in your long-term plans anyway.
And again, guys, the Durant thing, look, Durant has to want to come here, and they got a 4-year, they just put a multi-year deal together. Remember, they had that whole issue back in the summer, and there were concessions and yada. Durant's not coming here, so just stop with that. It's a nice thought, but come on, that's crazy talk. We're looking at, let's be honest, realistic scenarios today, okay? So you can go do your NBA trade machine. And, it works. Yeah, of course it works, but it's not going to happen. All right, Kyle Kuzma, Bradley Beal.
I'd love to have Beal. I told you guys 2 years ago.
Now they're saying, but again, just like LaVine, they're saying the Bulls aren't going to trade him, and now they're saying unless you come with a crazy package, the Wiz aren't moving off those guys either. So, what do you get? What are you looking for?
This is the thing about the trade deadline. If you can find a way to offer enough up, the Lakers were in the mix for this Kyrie situation, but they weren't willing to come off the additional picks.
Right.
So, the Brooklyn Nets said, well, we'll see you. I mean, the Suns were in the mix. They weren't willing to come off the additional picks.
Right.
If you can put a big enough package together, I think you can lure anybody away, Mike, depending on the star power. Now, you're not going to give up young stars. You just don't, because they're hard to find in this league. But those other pieces, and if you're going to make a difference and go get a difference maker, you put a package together. Kyrie's a difference maker. I know he can be a jerk and all the things that you guys think about him off the court. At the end of the day, when the ball's playing and he's on the court, he's a baller.
Right. Now, the one thing I would say, and you brought this up earlier in the year, it was back in December. What is DeAndre Hunter? Is DeAndre Hunter ever going to match up with that contract? Is he ever going to meet the expectations that we set for him? So if you could put a package together, I wouldn't think there's anybody other than Trey and DeJounte who's untradeable on this team. That's because John Collins, this thing's been going on for 3 years now about trade rumors with him.
Yeah,
I don't want to trade Okongwu. I don't want to trade Capella because I got to have a front court, whatever I do, right? Unless I'm bringing in a big guy. But to me, I'm saying DeAndre Hunter, I'd be interested. I'd talk about that because I still don't know what he is.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think a big guy makes us championship worthy. I mean, unless you're bringing in Embiid. Right? I mean, the reality is we need another wing player who can defend and can score. The problem with Bogey is he scores, he just don't defend. So if you're telling me we can upgrade, and that is the key, 404-741-0929, it's our Solomon Brothers Diamond text line. Can we upgrade? If you're looking at this team and going, well, we're pretty good. I mean, I don't think we need to upgrade. Then, okay, stay the course and let's see what happens. But, Mike, I think we can upgrade.
Right.
And I think we should be looking to upgrade. And that is why Dallas pulled the trigger while everybody else is being scared. And we'll see if it works out. And listen, they may be the laughingstock of the league. But what if they're not? What if it works? What if they make a run? What if he resigns and stays with Luka? And now you got to deal with that in the Western Conference. And by the way, if they're winning, they will attract other players to come because that's what happens. We've got to be willing to take the risk.
Now, in the meantime, everybody's going to watch to see if the Lakers can put anything together to make a run. Right now, they're outside the play-in. I mean, the Lakers aren't even in the play-in scenario right now. So there's a lot of rumors about what the Lakers are trying to do. Now, they could not match, obviously, what the Mavericks put together to get Kyrie. They were trying. So we'll see where that goes. And then, somebody might want Bogey. But if you give Bogey up and you're not really getting anything back, then you're kind of signaling the white flag. Some people will see it that way. Unless you're getting something dynamic in return.
Yeah, the deal with Bogey or any of these guys, if you don't get anything significant in return, it's why I was upset when they said we're not looking for a first rounder in return for John Collins. We're just looking for a guy. A guy? No, I need something in return. If you're going to do that, then, Mike, you're dumping salary and you're truly not trying to win. Right. There's a difference between making trades that you get value in and you get guys that can help you versus just dumping salary. And then down the road here in the offseason, Mike and I are talking about the luxury tax and our team and why we're not spending any money.
Well, I mean, look, the Herter was kind of the first sign that we didn't exactly put our money where our mouth was. And that was, for those who don't remember, we get the other holidays and we send Herter out and then we're not going to get close. We're kind of straddling that luxury tax, but we're not dipping our toe in the water. And that's what I think. I don't think Rester wants to do that, if I'm honest.
Well, we're not there. Listen, I don't blame him right now. I mean, honestly, I get it. We want to do it because we want to do whatever it takes to win. But your team has to be close. Like, you got to feel like we're close. Do you feel like we're close?
No. This weekend, all right, for example, you go into Utah, you get the win. You go to Denver, Trey doesn't play. And then you're down you close it down to like single digits, 8 or 9 points. And then we just kind of go screwy. I mean, Capella had a bad day. He couldn't handle Joker at all.
No.
We'll talk more about the nuts and bolts of the game coming up. Okongwu was doing a better job on Joker than Capella was, but Nate goes, no, now is when I will sub him in because apparently he's got it locked in his brain like it's carved in stone. But that was just another example. I guess you could say the road trip was okay, but there was a chance to really get a statement with a win over the Nuggets and then let it slip away.
Yeah. So my only thing about the luxury test, I'm all in if we're close. If we had a team that was in second or third or even fourth.
If Trey was an all-star this year.
In the East. Mike, and we're seeing signs. I would be screaming at Tony Wrestler, let's do it, let's make. But I get it. Why would you do that when you don't feel like we're close? And that's why we have to risk it.
Because regardless of what you think or you put into that article in The Athletic, there's probably a mindset of we're going to move on from the Schlenk moves. There was pieces that Schlenk assembled, and we're going to and John Collins might be one of those guys. We'll see. But they missed that opportunity to move John Collins earlier. You found out earlier this summer.
No, they did. I mean, a deal was on the table. They didn't pull the trigger. And now, I think sometimes, Mike, you're late to the party. And when you're late to the party, that means people go, oh, you want to trade him? Yeah, we'll take him for a bag of chips. Because you guys had a chance to trade him earlier, and you blew it. And that's really what teams are looking at John Collins right now. We'll see what happens.